Congratulations! You are stepping towards the end of the program. And if you're following the practice, you would have quit cigarettes by now. I am sure all the knowledge that you have gathered in the last 9 weeks, like the habit loop and how your addiction works, the mindfulness exercises of RAIN, body scan, as well as the ideas of curiosity and gratitude, have shaped your final decision and ability to quit cigarettes. At the same time, taking the Smotec natural tablets twice a day has cleansed your body and prepared you for the final release from the clutches of smoking. Now, last week we spoke about overcoming your withdrawal symptoms and transforming yourself into a non-smoker. There is just one more thing that you need to look out for as you begin to lead a smoke-free life. Imagine you have walked through a forest and there is just one danger that remains, and that is the fear of relapse. The reason for relapse is that you've not prepared for it. If you remember the story of the farmer and his sons, Vivek had taken all the measures to prepare for any danger ahead. He had carried warm clothes for the cold, had packed food for the journey, and made maps to know the destination. Similarly, you have to be prepared to know how a slip can turn into a relapse. Mindfulness exercises like RAIN and body scan will help you see your triggers and avoid falling into the trap of a relapse. But there are many ways in which you can be aware of these traps and triggers. Let's watch a video where our expert counselors have explained the idea of relapse to help you with this.
We all remember that in childhood, we used to enjoy the slide in the park. Now, just imagine that if at the end of the slide, there is a puddle of mud. You climb the steps and are about to slide when you become aware that there is a muddy, slippery puddle at the end of the slide. Still, whenever you see the slide, you do remember the joy of sliding. You are at the same juncture in your journey to become smoke-free. You used to enjoy the experience of smoking like you enjoyed the experience of going down a slide. However, as you realized that the slide ends up in a muddy, slippery puddle, you know that smoking too ends up in many difficulties. Now you have stopped smoking, but when you encounter strong triggers, you will be tempted to start smoking again. As you climb up, you become aware that if you slide down, then you are going to be in the puddle. Therefore, you decide not to take the slide. You feel very good to have made a right choice. Sometimes the trigger could be so strong that you actually end up smoking. Don't panic and don't lose hope. At this time, just stub out the cigarette, become mindful, and remind yourself of the effort you have put in on this journey to be smoke-free. Appreciate your efforts and commitment. Draw power from it. As you do it, you will definitely feel more confident about your ability to say no to smoking knowingly. In doing this, you're strengthening your neural network at the level of neurons in your upper brain centers that will allow you to exert voluntary control and say no to the autopilot mode of thinking. Now, imagine that you could not resist the pressure and push that is generated by the wanting system and slide down the slide and splash in the puddle. Still, you have the choice to get up and wipe yourself and say no to go on the slide the second time. If you smoke a cigarette and then realize it, then it's still okay. you can say no to another cigarette and avoid the slip turning into a relapse episode. This will again strengthen your conscious neural network over the automated one. Finally, the last thing that could happen to you in this stage is that instead of coming out of the mud and washing it off, if you say, "I am in the mud and let me splash it," and enjoy being in it, it's like making a mess of all of your efforts. At this point, you can also become mindful and note that you are feeling frustrated. You are feeling guilty. But guilt will further drain your cognitive strength as you will go into a relapse from a slip. So instead, extend loving kindness to yourself and say, "It's okay. I could not resist the pressure and smoked, but now I can say no to the next cigarette." This is nurturing the process that leads to wellness and health. It makes you more in charge of your thought and behavior instead of allowing some faulty autopilot mode to take charge of our thinking, feeling, and behavior.
Can you relate to what we spoke about in the video? What did it make you think? Did it remind you of some of your own triggers? In the video, we saw how there are 3 different responses you can have to a trigger. You can either immediately say no to it, or a trigger will lead you to actually lighting a cigarette. That too is all right. You can recognize the slip and then instantly stub the cigarette out. Or the third could be when you smoke the whole cigarette and have given into the craving. Even if this happens, not to worry. Don't beat yourself over it. Neither let it become an excuse to smoke more cigarettes. Feeling guilty or being too complacent will only push you into a full-blown relapse, and you don't want that. Look at it with curiosity. Triggers lead to a slip, and you can be aware of some common triggers to keep yourself in check. Triggers like associating with other smokers, especially on social occasions. Consuming alcohol and accompanying it with cigarettes. Being away from friends, family members, and support group members. Experiencing boredom and emptiness or a lack of purpose in life. Not getting enough sleep or rest. Encountering stressful situations on a frequent basis. Becoming a victim with feelings of anger and self-pity. By eliminating as many triggers as possible, you can increase your chance of quitting smoking successfully. Let's listen to a poem by Portia Nelson about pulling yourself out of the possible trigger points and not letting yourself relapse.
An autobiography in 5 very short chapters by Portia Nelson. Chapter 1. I walk down the street. There's a hole in the sidewalk. It is a very deep hole. I fall in. I'm helpless. It isn't my fault. It takes forever to find a way out. Chapter 2. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I pretend I don't see it. I fall in again. I can't believe I'm in the same place. But it isn't my fault. It still takes a long time to get out. Chapter 3. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it is there. I still fall in. It's a habit, but my eyes are open. I know where I am. It is my fault. I get out immediately. Chapter 4. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I walk around it. Chapter 5. I walk down another street.
Does this poem sound familiar? What does the ditch look like for you? Once you become aware, you have the choice to either fall into the ditch, decide to get back up, or to avoid the route altogether to prevent falling into it. You have the freedom to choose whether you will quit or not. Whatever you do, remember to look at yourself with loving kindness and empathy, because this is one of the most challenging things you have to do in your life. For next week, keep practicing the body scan exercise and continue the RAIN technique to overcome any residual cravings. Enter them in the progress card we have given you to keep yourself accountable. I'm sure by now you must be breathing so much better and your overall energy is higher. The tablets will help in increasing concentration, focus, and will also improve the quality of your life in a holistic way. Take some time to talk about your experiences of a slip, or participate on our Facebook community page to stay motivated. If you need any assistance or have queries, you can schedule a call with the Smotech counselors through the website or connect with us on our Facebook community page. Stay aware and stay on track. I will see you next week.